Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another range report. And today's range report is on another amazing B&T firearm. This is the APC9K Pistol. So this is not an NFA item. This gun is on loan to the channel from my good friend D, and yes, he has one amazing collection and has let me borrow a bunch of fine firearms, including 3 B&Ts, and this is the third one that I get to review. So thank you so much, D. I am honored and humbled that you trust me with your firearms. I'd also like to thank my Patreons. As always, you guys know they keep the lights on around here through their monthly donation. It means the world to me that they think my content is worthy of their support. And as always, my primary sponsor for all of these range reports, who provides all of the ammunition, because these things can get kind of expensive to film, and that is one amazing grip company, Brown Works. You guys have been watching my channel for a while. You guys know I just talk so much about Brown Works and the high quality grips that Mark over there makes. He's a master craftsman that can make a number of different styles of grips out of exotic woods for different types of firearms. He can finish them in many different ways. He can even make laminate woods. So it is amazing what he's able to do over there. He can put on custom logos, put on custom etchings. He can make any type of grip for your gun and turn it into something that is heirloom quality. Let me tell you, all of the people who are subscribed here to the Texas Gun Vault that have purchased grips through him have called me and emailed me and said, oh my gosh, these grips are awesome. Mark is an amazing craftsman and he has amazing customer service. And I said, I know. It is awesome what he can do and the things that he can create. And he also offers another service. If you're interested, he can laser engrave PMags for both the AK-47 and the AR-15 with any type of logo or design that you can imagine. Here are some Texas Gun Vault PMags. He even said he might be sending me a few as a giveaway for some Patreons, which I think is really awesome. And I think he also said he's doing 1911 magazines as well. So go check out his website, see everything he has to offer. So even if you're not in the market for grips, who knows, maybe you're in the market for some magazines, you can pick some up there, get some custom logos, and who knows, if you want a Texas Gun Vault logo, well, you're weird, but I know he can make them for you. So go over there, check out Brown Works. I'm going to put a link in the description below and pin a comment. And there's also a discount code down there if you want to get 10% off your first order. So if you go over there, buy something, please tell Mark the Texas Gun Vault sent you. All right, so let's talk about this gun that is on the table. Now, as I've already mentioned, this is not my personal gun. So if you have any questions about it and go, well, I disagree with how you set that up, it's not my gun. And I never change the guns on how they come into the channel for review. It's not my place to mess with other people's guns. So some people might say, hey, that front sight is on backwards. Well, it's still gonna function, but that is how the owner of this firearm wanted to set that up. So don't assume that I don't know what I'm doing and say that I'm an idiot. Sorry, I have to get that out of the way. Personally, I kind of like it that way, so I have no problems with it. But for the purpose of this review, I'm gonna be using this hollow sun optic that was also provided. So I think it looks kind of cool. I don't like how dim it is, but I have some issues with it, but this review is not about that particular hollow sun. Another thing that D, the owner of this pistol, has changed out is the trigger. This no longer has the factory trigger. I sure wish he would keep it in there. I like the factory triggers personally, but he likes the flat face triggers, and this is some type of performance trigger, which is cool, but I think B&T has a great trigger to begin with. And the other thing that you'll see me review and talk about is he also purchased an extra lower for this particular gun that accepts Glock mags. Yes, everyone always asks, does it take Glock mags? Well, the only response that I can give is some of us like 50-year-old Scotch, me, with the original mags, and some people like Pabst Blue Ribbon beer, and that is perfectly okay. So for all of you people that like your Miller Lite and like your Pabst Blue Ribbon, well, they got Glock lowers for you too, with a Franklin Armory binary trigger in there, so we'll have some fun with that as well. So if that's something you care about, we're going to talk about that as well. So let's break this thing down and talk about the things I like and don't like. Okay, First and foremost, this is a B&T, and you guys know Brugger and Tomet make some of the finest firearms in the world. I am a huge fanboy of them, and I fully admit that. I kind of have a bias towards them because every product that they make that I have shot, I have just been super impressed with. I've handled guns from many manufacturers, and the fit and the finish and the quality of these guns is just simply off the chart. They're also cool as heck. You can't deny it. They just look amazing. They function amazing. They are just fine pieces of Swiss engineering. I also really like the color of this one. One of the sad things about my personal B&T collection is that I don't own any B&T products in flat dark earth, and I sure wish I did. But Dee was able to pick one of these things up in this awesome color. I love everything flat dark earth. And the other thing I really like about this particular gun is the fact that this is the model of firearm that the US military adopted as their new submachine gun. They haven't adopted a new submachine gun since the M3. And it's my understanding that this particular gun was adopted for VIP protection. So that is really cool and has a military provenance to it that just makes it collectible in my eyes. So now let's talk about the few things that I don't like. And yes, there are a few things about this particular gun that I don't like. The first one has to deal with the barrel, and that this is actually a threaded barrel. I know it looks like it has a 3-lug system on the front, but don't let it fool you. It's actually an adapter, and this adapter, from my understanding, does come with the firearm. So if you want to run a suppressor with a direct thread, you can take this off, run it right there, or if you have a 3-lug system, you can put this adapter on, which essentially still makes it direct thread. I have a GHM9 from B&T that I absolutely love, and that barrel is both threaded and has the 3-lug system. I don't know why they couldn't do that on this particular gun, just have both built in. Another thing I don't like about it actually is its overall length. This is the K configuration, so this is the shortened configuration. In my personal opinion, the full-size APC is already short enough. Now I brought out my personal full-sized APC9, and this is in SBR. So this is legally allowed to have this stock on it and this vertical foregrip. The barrel is not threaded, it just has the 3-lug system. And this thing is already super compact and super short. It's barely long enough to get this vertical foregrip on here comfortably, where I feel that my hands are far enough back from the end of the barrel. So just to give you a little bit of comparison on the length of this receiver, I also brought out my HK SP5K. So this is the civilian version of the MP5K. And so this is already a shortened version of the MP5. And when I put them up side by side, the receivers are exactly the same length. So if you think this is already short, well, the full-sized APC9 is already that short. So when they made the K version, they really had to make it short. And the downside to that is, even though they give you a little piece of pick rail out here, and they put on a little hand stop, well, you can't put on a vertical foregrip. Your only option is to kind of do the magwell hold. Not a big fan of that. I kind of wish I had another option. In my personal opinion, this is just simply too short. Now, maybe the agencies that have adopted this in the military wanted something this short for concealability. I understand that completely. But for me, cutting that receiver off that short, it just doesn't give you enough area out here to hold it comfortably. Now, if you're going to be running lasers or lights on the pick rail, well, that's going to run into an even bigger issue, because that's going to give you less place to put your thumb. For my personal taste, it's just a little bit too short. Now, is that going to affect the accuracy at all? Well, I doubt it, but we're going to find out. And finally, the last thing about this gun I want to talk about, and it's something I mentioned in other reviews of B&T products with their more modern designs, is that the bolt release on this is a button that you push downward instead of in. I just prefer to push the buttons that are in because it's the same manual of arms as AR-15s. It's just something that I personally would have to get used to. So that's the things I like and don't like about it. Just kind of handling it here on the workbench. But let's get this thing to the range. Let's see how this thing actually shoots. So we're going to go to the range. I'm going to set the target out at 10 yards, load one of these really high capacity magazines. I'm going to use that term in air quotes, high capacity, with a bunch of rounds. We're going to see how it performs. I know it's going to be a great gun. It's going to recoil great. I've shot other APCs. I have no doubt about that. But I am kind of curious about how accurate this is going to be with such a short barrel. So let's see what happens. Is that thing accurate or what? This thing shoots holes through holes. It's amazing. I have to say too, the recoil on this is Cadillac smooth. When you look at a B&T and handle a B&T, look at these upper receivers and these bolts, they are machined to perfection. You understand why they cost so much money. I really feel like B&T has perfected the straight blowback recoil system. The only gun that I think that recoils better is still the HK MP5 with the roller delayed system. Well, we're going to set the target out now at 25 yards. I'm going to load up another magazine. I like to call this the accuracy portion. Essentially, I like to see, well, if I'm good with the gun up close, can I shoot it at a further distance and see how much the grouping opens up? I always expect it to open up, but who knows? Maybe with a gun this fine, it's not going to. Well, let's see how I do. All right, so even at 25 yards, this thing is pretty darn accurate. The grouping is almost as good. Well, I'm really surprised. This thing makes me look like a way better shot than I actually am. So I still have no problems. The only issue I'm really having with the gun, and it's not even the gun, it's this optic. I'm not a big fan of this hollow stud optic. It's very dim. I can't get the settings to go up any higher. It's set a little bit too low. I've tried to do all the different adjustments to it. I just can't get it to where the dot is. So I just don't like these hollow suns, but if I own this gun, I'd probably be running some type of aim point. But that has nothing to do with the function of the gun. I would just change out the optic if it was my personal gun. That's the only issue that I'm having, but the gun is absolutely perfect. Well, I'm going to give my wife Becky a shot at shooting this. She loves B&T as much as I do, and she hears me rave about them, so I'm curious what she's going to say. I know in the past when I've let her shoot B&T guns that were this short, she doesn't like that mag well hold. Well, let's see what she thinks. Well, everything I predicted happened. The gun shot very accurate for her. She doesn't like the mag well hold, and she said she doesn't like this aftermarket trigger. She likes her triggers a little bit curved as well. The trigger works great. It has a nice reset to it. It's very light and crisp. I just don't like the feel of a flat face trigger, and neither does my wife. But it shot great for her. She really liked it, like she likes all other B&T guns. I guess we're just a B&T family around here. Well, I now want to do what I call the hollow point test. You guys know that when the GHM9 came out, it didn't feed hollow points. I have one of the Generation 1s, and for whatever reason, they just didn't think about that when they designed it. So I'm always cautious when it comes to any foreign-made subgun like this. I always want to make sure they're going to be able to feed hollow points reliably. After all, if you're going to use this for home defense, or if a police or military agency is going to use this, well, you want them to be able to use hollow points. So I'm gonna load a magazine up of hollow points and see how this thing runs and see if I have any issues. All right, so it ran great, and that is to be expected. I know after that GHM9 launch, they had that issues with the hollow points, they wouldn't let it happen again, and this gun did not disappoint. And that hollow point ammunition was also plus P, so it didn't have any problem running something that was a little bit hotter and a little bit faster. So, as I said, I didn't expect any issues. Well, the next portion of this range report, I want to try out this Glock lower with the Franklin Armory binary trigger. So I'm kind of trying out two different things. Number one, does the gun run reliably with a Glock lower feeding from these Glock magazines? And I'm going to try the binary trigger out. Now, this range report is not about the binary trigger, so if it has any issues, it's not the gun's fault, it's just the binary trigger's fault. I guess this is supposed to be the APC version of this trigger, so maybe I should do a separate range report in the future of Franklin Armory binary triggers, but that's not the focus of this video. But I'm going to install this. It's easy to change out with just the two takedown pins. You pop this on, you change magazines, load it up. I'm going to try shooting this first in semi-automatic, then I'm going to move it to binary. One of the things I've noticed from just having it here in the garage is I don't like this safety selector switch. It is way too easy to move from safe, semi, and binary. It's just really loose. It doesn't feel like the detent is holding it into place. And one of the things that I did notice is that if it is not completely in the semi-auto function, if it's just a little bit off and you pull this trigger, it actually goes into binary mode. For me, that is not safe. So look, right there it is. It's in semi-auto. I pull the trigger and it goes to binary. You have to make sure it is in that detent correctly, but it has so much play in it, you can't really tell where it is. So there it is, I guess. If I move it just a little bit, boom, it goes to binary. Ooh, that doesn't seem safe to me. But what do I know? I don't really shoot binary triggers that often. So if you're always asking, does it take Glock mags? Or sorry, I should probably do it in the correct voice. Does it take Glock mags? Well, the answer is yes. So let's see how this thing shoots with the binary trigger from a Glock magazine. All right, so we had some issues there. Okay, so let's talk about this. Before I talk about the function of the binary trigger, let's talk about the Glock mags. This is really weird to load. I am so used to using these straight magazines from B&T and loading them just straight up into the mag well, that having to load an angled magazine like this is kind of awkward. I kept wanting to load it like this and it won't go. You have to hold it back and it will go in the lower receiver. It's awkward going back and forth between the two styles. I still think the stick mags are far superior. The only reason I think people want this is just so that they can have compatibility between their pistols and their PCCs. But for me, just man up, buck up, have two different systems. You can shoot the same caliber, just use the magazine that was originally designed in the gun. But if you want the Glock mags, well, apparently they work just fine. They hold the bolt open just fine, so functionality, there's no issue. But now let's talk about this binary trigger. I've shot binary triggers in the past. I own a binary trigger on one of my AR-15s, and this doesn't shoot like any binary trigger I've ever shot. They say that you can outrun them. I think that I did. And I also noticed that when I kind of held it back between wanting to reset, I don't know, it just kind of felt like it wasn't really me pulling the trigger. It wasn't full auto, but it didn't seem right to me. I didn't really feel like I had any control on the pull and the release, and it's so easy to outrun. I don't like the binary trigger in the APC. Personally, I think it's okay in an AR-15, but this right here, it just doesn't work very well. I'm very disappointed with Franklin Armory with the safety selector and the way this trigger feels. It's really not fun. It kind of feels a little bit dangerous, and I kind of felt like once the gun tried to kind of run away on me. So I don't think this is a product that I would personally recommend, but I am not going to deduct any points in my final thoughts on the APC because of the binary trigger, because that's not a B&T product. But speaking of my final thoughts, what do I think of the APC9K Pro? Well, you know, I love this company. I love the APC series, which I think is B&T's top of the line. The gun shot amazing. It's extremely accurate. It really surprised me in that department. I wasn't expecting it to be that accurate with this short of a barrel with a magwell hold. So I can only imagine how accurate this gun is in full auto. This thing really does give the MP5 a run for its money. The fit, the finish, the quality is just off the chart. The machining is absolutely perfect. It's a kind of a modular design. There's so many things that you can change out on it, from the Glock lowers to the standard lowers. It's pretty darn awesome. You can SBR these things. Yeah, they're just a lot of fun. You can suppress them a number of different ways. I think they're definitely well worth the price. But as a model, the APC9K, I don't think it's as good of a gun as its full-size companion. I just prefer to have that rail in the front be just a little bit longer. I just like that a little bit more. I had no problems with it. As I said, the gun was reliable, super accurate, but when it comes to its features and its overall length, well, I'm going to deduct a few points for that. So on my star system, how would I rate the APC9K pistol, chambered in 9mm, obviously, from B&T? Well, I'm only going to give it 4 out of 5 stars. It's a great gun, and if you want something this short, well, you can't go wrong. My biggest complaint is just how short it is. It's just too short. And some people may say that that's kind of a weird gripe, but just my personal preference. I want a little bit more room between my hand and the end of that barrel, and I wish the barrel was threaded with the 3-lug, just all in one like my GHM9, and not use an adapter. But that's just my personal opinions. But 4 out of 5 stars. It is worth every single penny if you can find one of these. They are awesome guns, especially in the flat dark earth. Maybe one day I'll find myself a flat dark earth B&T and I'll pick one up. So there you go. My range reports, thoughts, impressions, and experiences with the B&T APC9K pistol. What do you guys think? Do you own one of these? Have you ever shot one? What do you think about the recoil? And was it as accurate for you as it was for me? I'd like to know your thoughts in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.